Hi, my name's Yoko Akama. I'm from the School of Design at Areli University on the lands now called Melbourne, Australia. I'm here to present this paper on behalf of my co-authors, Juliette, Areli, Liam, Marius, Leah, Tanja, Emma, Rowan, Tania, Juan, and Linus. Thank you all for your contributions. Firstly, I'd like to start with an acknowledgement of country and offer this in my native language, Japanese. おはようございます。自分は今、メルボルン、オーストラリアと呼ばれ、クーリンネーションの東部、ウォイウォロンとブンウォロン先住民の土地に住んでます。アボリジナルとトレス海峡諸島民は、統治権を譲渡しておらず、最初の住民と認める宣言は、こういった会合ではとても大切な習慣です。この土地で7万5千年以上持続されている文化、知恵、デザインと長老たちのレジリエンスに感謝するとともに、今日様々な土地から参加されている伝統的カストディアン、それと自分の先祖と里の神々、日本のアイヌ民族や琉球と沖縄の人々に敬意を示し、最後に皆様の故郷、歴史、立ち位置やストーリーを歓迎する気持ちで始めたいと思います。This is a video that I recorded when walking my dog, Bento, because as you can see, the light at dusk was so beautiful. It's our local football oval on the lands of the Woiwurrung and Burrung, now called West Footscray. This oval is also an ex-quarry for bluestone that have now become open spaces and parks, and there's so many around our area near the mighty Maribyrnong River, a significant waterway for the Woiwurrung and Bunurong, because it's on the edge of the western basalt plains. And these rocks are the bluestones that Melbourne is famous for, to construct the roads, buildings, and the colony, and carried as ballasts in ships back to England to pave places like Trafalgar Square. Our paper grapples with complicities of decolonising by problematizing conferences as powerful mechanisms that can centralise, ossify, and exclude people, knowledges, worldviews, and ways of being. As PDC 2022 attests, decolonising is increasing in strength as an issue, as we learn from many scholars about the need to lean further into discomfort with the historicity, universalism, and ontoepistemes of design and research that have become so dominant. Our papers share attempts to unsettle conventions through questions around labour, privilege, and ethics of being present and situated when we come together to share our practices on unceded Indigenous lands. We do not claim to be able to demonstrate a methodology of how to decolonize a conference effectively. So instead of a methodology, we ground our work in the obligations to Kulin sovereigns and manifest our commitments to respond to a penetrating question by an Indigenous elder. Why are you here and what is your purpose? We admit to being part of capitalist colonial mechanisms and show how we grappled with them, because they cannot be undone or resolved, lest in a single conference. So rather than discussing decolonising through arm's length theory, we share our endeavours through practice and ontologies of our feeling thinking to offer learnings and thoughts towards what is yet still to do. I'm now showing you a series of pages from the ServDes 2020 conference website, which our university hosted last year. The theme, Tensions, Paradoxes and Plurality, was the first service design conference outside of Europe in its 12-year history to heighten the geopolitics of the Asia-Pacific region and raise disquiet about the maturing service design industry and practices that have spread here, imbibed with Western ideologies and privilege, by often ignoring the continuous designing that are rooted in lands, relationships, and ecologies here for a very long time. I'd firstly like to thank the co-authors, who are also pictured here, and many other chairs, staff, other members of the local and international service design community who contributed enormously and worked through their patients with us during the pandemic, as they accompanied us as we redesigned the conference from a physical to an online-only event due to continued lockdowns in Melbourne. The most important participation is by the undergrad and postgrad students since 2018, so that's 2 years or more, where they researched, co-designed, workshopped, tested and iterated propositions of the Servdes conference experience. These studios became a key learning vehicle for their understanding of design and service design, and by involving them for all that time, we asked them to challenge us, the conference organizers, who, part of an academic community, may have become too conforming and institutionalized, so they were trying to help us break out of our ossified norms. You see here an image from one of the undergrad studios, and James there in the center, who is doing a wonderful acknowledgement of country as part of a co-design session with participants from the service design community. Acknowledgement of country is a common ritual for many of us here in Australia. Yet, for the conference, we were also attempting to habituate this practice through our classes, meetings, and also throughout the conference. Offering an acknowledgement means many things, depending on who and where you are. For us here on Kulin Nation, we follow the guidance of the Indigenous Elders. However, as one of our colleagues at RMIT, Peter West, describes, acknowledgement of country is fraught. He says it's an enactment that reveals what we've not been allowed to know or what we've willfully ignored. It triggers the anxiety of feeling inept and exposed. I know many of you at PDC 2022 were invited to offer an acknowledgement, so perhaps we can reflect on this thinking feeling in our discussions later. Nawait Caroline Briggs, AM, is a highly respected Bunurong elder and RMIT's resident Indigenous elder. Her welcome to country, given at formal gatherings, explains this welcome, Womanjika, as a request that asks, why are you here and what is your purpose? Here's a video of her explaining this.
And according to our traditions, our lands will always be protected by our creator, Bunjil, who travels as an eagle, and by Juan, who protects our waterways, travels as a crow. Bunjil taught us to always welcome guests, but he required us to ask all visitors to make a number of promises. One, not to harm the lands and waters and not harm the children of Bunjil. And this commitment is made through an exchange of a small bow dipped in the water of the land. So once again, Womanjika, Merrimbik, Bunurong, Numder, Barupton, Ata, Wellam. I want you to firstly take the word Womanjika and understand how that connects you to this place. So it means come, ask to come, and your purpose for coming. So could you please say, Womanjika? Thank you. Oh, Bingunj, you've just articulated 2,000 generations of the ancestors' language that's still embedded in this land. Thank you, Bingunj.
As you heard, Naweet's welcome is a request to obey the laws of Bunjil, which is a condition of being welcomed onto these lands, to manifest in our everyday living and working. So how do we enact our commitments and also as conference hosts, invite the presenters and guests to attend to this consciousness? And at the same time, what ossified norms of design and conferencing can we trouble as decolonising? I won't have the time to go through everything, so please go to the website servdes2020.org to see many other student propositions. But I'm just here to present a few of those propositions that were particularly compelling. For us to commit not to harm the lands and waterways of Banjul, students considered how we could minimize impact in catering. They proposed meals that were plant-based and locally grown, avoid single use, and choose social enterprises as caterers. We also see here how they designed a system for delegates to participate in cleaning, sorting, and composting waste. To not harm the children of Banjul, their work invited important considerations about those who clean, serve, provide security, who are often burdened at large events. These revealed and trouble the hidden, racialized, and class-based labor that provide such services. We learned from the students who came to study from neighboring Asia-Pacific countries the precarity of migrant work, visa conditions, and casual labor that belie convenient, efficient, and seamless services we often take for granted. Lastly, how can we also trouble Western-centric norms and learn from designing that have been continuous on country? We were honoured by Professor Uncle Norm Sheehan and Dr. Tristan Short's keynote that engaged in dialogue about what meat-eating ants can teach us through visual, intelligible patterns in environments as designing. And this was an important register and reference point throughout the conference. And I invite you to watch their keynote through the Servdes 2020 website. And it's just fantastic. The decolonising we pursued was not about arm's length critique and theory, but a way to step into the turbulence and learn together through this. From this, we learnt that decolonising is necessarily varied according to particular positionalities and historicities of whom, where, when, and why. Acknowledgements can keep alive the consciousness of Indigenous sovereignty and honour relationships, but they are also unsettling and need to be so. Decolonising isn't about reconciling settler guilt and complicity, because we can't step outside of what global histories has implicated us in. The undesirable propositions by students to clean up and sort waste is an invaluable lesson for us to be attentive to the invisible intersectional disadvantages that our systems and services perpetuate. Lastly, Naweet's question, why are you here and what is your purpose? This has a way of penetrating our feeling, thinking, spirit and soul that are harder to capture in evidence in a paper. This is a timely reminder of the complicities we, here, are participating in, to keep questioning the mechanisms of knowledge sharing, like conferences, that can admit, exclude, for us to pursue what other practices can we welcome to bring in such ontological facets of being and becoming together. This speaks to so much more still to be done, to move beyond the disciplinary limits in design and research, and to strive towards a richer, soulful, expansive ways for doing things differently when we come together in time and place, because we now know how rare those moments can be. The image I end with is another I've taken on my walks, where I saw those big basalt rocks being unearthed. You can see that in the background. This site has now become luxury apartments, and these rocks, these ancient sentient beings that continue to be dug up, are removed, chiseled, transported, and used to build more infrastructures on distant lands. So as I make my way to Newcastle upon Tyne by London to join some of you, I hope to give respect to those stones at Trafalgar Square and to reflect on the history and futures of our ongoing coexistence. Thank you and ありがとうございました。